Hey everybody, this is Pramita here, and I am just popping in to do a series sort of thing. I will be making a few winter journals for my Etsy shop, and I thought of going live and showing how I plan on doing so. So today's live session is going to be just an introduction, like how what kind of papers I'm choosing and what are the ideas that I have. I am not using any printables for this for these journals, as I have enough pattern papers that I need to use up. So I will be using those. Now, basically, I started and nobody is here yet, so I don't think I should be rambling too much. I will wait for a few people to pop in. Um, so I do have a few things around. I'm just trying to organize them. Somebody is watching. I don't know who that person is. Please comment so that I get to know who you are. Julie, hi Julie. It's great to see you. How are you? Um, so I did have a very bad cold a few days back. You know, and then somehow I just survived. So I will be making some winter journals for my Etsy shop, and for myself also. Now, why I'm making winter journals is because I want to keep the time frame very flexible. Like, you can use them for November, December, and January, so that they are not exclusively um, okay. Yeah, I hope this is not going to be very long, so I hope you can stick around. My voice is still very um, raspy kind of thing because my cold refuses to go away. So here I am with the winter journal papers. This is mostly going to be a bluish kind of theme because I found everybody is doing different kinds of color schemes, but I want to do a little bit different. So I thought of going with blues and greens, which will, signify winter. So the paper packs that I've used is, firstly, I've used the Stamperia paper pack, um, which is called the Blue Land. I love the Stamperia papers. I have said that before, and the main reason being that they are double-sided, and they come with a ton of cutter parts basically, and the only downside is they only have 10 sheets, and you will not have enough for your journals maybe. So I have used two of the Stamperia papers over here. One is this Blue Land. I don't know if you've come across this paper pack. This is basically winter themed. I'll just go through this. This is a wonderful paper. As you can see, it's the blue floral, and uh, they have the school quotes out here, and you can make excellent pages or covers out of it. Um, these are double-sided, so you get to see the back with the wood grain and stuff like that. This is a very, very pretty paper pack. I just got this, I think, a few days back, and the idea behind this was that I'm going to make a journal, non-traditional winter journal. It's not going to be a Christmas journal, and so that you can get to use it during the winter period. And I love to work with pattern papers because they give you so much of depth. The papers are good quality, and as you can see, this is around 190 GSM, I think. This is pretty thick cardstock. And this is the other page. Um, they have 10 sheets and they do come with a ton of cutter parts. So this is another one. You can use these for covers, and look how, just imagine how beautiful it will look, the cover with 3 butterflies, and at the back you can have this chair. These papers are really very good, very pretty, very pretty. And this is another page. I just need to lift my camera a little bit, just a second. Okay, so this will give you a better view. Let me lift the camera a little bit. So this is another, no, it is not an Indian paper. It is actually, it is an European brand, and if you can see, it's an Hungarian brand. But it's mostly available in Europe, and sometimes we get this in India. Sometimes, not always, but I think I prefer these papers because they come with a lot of cutter parts. I will show them, and you can check them out, but you can check Etsy basically, because there are many sellers on Etsy who sell Stamperia papers, because they are not available in over the Michaels and Joanne and stuff like that. So this is actually the papers that they come with. I have already fussy cut out these tags and tabs and cards, whatever they are. So I'll just show you. So this was a page of postcards, and these were round tags. This whole sheet was of round tags, and then these 2 sheets were with tags and journaling cards. So you get a ton of cutter parts, but the downside is you have to add other papers, filler papers, to make this work. So what I have done is I have taken some papers from this, not all. I have practically fussy cut out all the cutter parts, and I've chosen one for one of the covers of my journals. So this is basically Stamperia's Blue Land. These are all non-traditional winter journal concepts. So that's one of the things that I wanted to keep in mind. And the images, if you want to cut these out, you can make tags out of these. Like, see how cool these are. You can make tags out of these, and then you can just tie a ribbon to it. I have done that to some of the previous Stamperia papers. I love Stamperia papers. They are not too thick, they are not too thin, and they are double-sided. So you just need to add some filler papers to your journals to get them going. Now I also had this, sorry for the noise. I also had this non-traditional winter sort of Stamperia paper pack. This is called Blue Stars, and this is also a winter journal concept sort of thing. I thought of making a journal. I just incorporated a few pages from here. This is a little bit of art journaling collage sort of feel to it. This has that kind of feel to it. And you can see that these are the journaling cards you get on the first page, and you get 6 of these. These are pretty big cards, and the back is like so. So you can write over here after you fussy cut these out. So Stamperia is really one of my favorite brands, you can say, and I gravitate towards papers like this. So that is one of the things. And this paper does not have too many cutter parts. This has more of that filler paper sort of thing. It has a girl theme going on, and you will see that it also has this subtle winter wintry kind of feel. So the pages are like this, very mixed media kind of look. um, Over here you'll get another cool quote: just like the butterfly I will awaken in my own time. So here is another one. So these are all double-sided papers, so it makes my job a little bit easier, because I don't like blank spaces. Life is now. So this is another girl you have. So I have used some of the pages from here, and this is another cut apart portion. As you can see, they I think they have 12 journaling cards. So these are smaller journaling cards, each have um, a figure sort of thing. And look at the back, isn't it wonderful? So I am using a few papers from here, and um, this is a beautiful paper from an Indian brand. It's called Wing Lines, and I have used this brand's paper before. It's made in India, and it has beautiful papers, beautiful. I'll just give you a glimpse of this. Like, it has those pine cones and snowflakes and stuff like that. And what I've done basically is, whenever I start making a journal, the first thing I do is I make a template. So that makes my job very easy, because the template gives you an idea where you want your images to be. I have talked about this, making templates, before, on printables for your junk journal, with TLC, Pollett's group. But I've never said that before, I think, on YouTube or anywhere else. I prefer to make a template. Now, this template is going to get me a long way. Why? I'm going to tell you. Like, for the middle part, this is going to be, this is one of the Winter Rhymes paper, this brand. And it has such lovely images. This is one of them. And I want this to be in the center of the journal. Okay, so if I want this to be at the center of the journal, I want these birds in my journal page. So what I can do is, I have made a template which will tell me where I could get the birds in. Like, if I position this like so, then I can get both the images of the birds. Maybe this side is not going to come, this side is not going to come, but that doesn't matter, because I will be getting these two birds in one frame in my journal. So that's going to that's a cool idea, I think, even for a layman, or a person who has been making journals for a long time. It reduces your chances of making a mistake in size. I know junk journals give you a lot of allowance to make mistakes. It's a very forgiving process, but still, when I'm working with pattern papers, I like to make templates, because that will give me an idea where my patterns will lie. Suppose I don't want this bird, but I want this portion. So I'm going to position my template in such a way so that you can see this picture of the bird is not coming into the template at all. So the first thing I do is I make a template, and this is for the inner page, not for the cover. For the cover, what I do is I have just yeah. So this is going to be one of the covers of my journal from the Stamperia Blue Land, and I love this image, and I thought that I'm going to use this in one of the journals. And this cover is going to be a tad wider and taller than my inner pages. So I'm going to just I don't know why my camera is not focusing. Come on, yeah. So my cover is going to be a tad wider and bigger, taller. So if you see, it's, yeah, so it's a little bit wider and taller. So this is how I plan to keep my cover a little bit wider. So I know I need to make my pages of this size, and because my cover is of this size. So and I generally don't work on the cover. Many of the junk journal makers, they do that, but I find that I tend to mess up the cover if I start working with it just the first go. So this is going to be one of the covers, and the other two that I'm going to be listing, they will have a plain cardstock cover with a background, with of course some embellishment and layering on the top, like I usually do. Maybe some images from the, this Blue Land. I'm going to layer this up with lace and cheesecloth and stuff like that. So maybe add a few bling and jazz it up. So these are the papers that I have chosen, and the next thing I do is I'm just going to trace out basically with my pencil and ruler, and I'd like to see where my images will be if I have this as a template. Some pages, they don't need this method because they have a kind of image that goes around all over, like this one. Now this one doesn't matter if you have a template, you don't have a template, it doesn't matter. But of course in this case what I liked is that this has a direction. This I just can't use it like this in my journal, because this is a directional image. So I would have to keep it like this. So if you have a directional image, you have to keep that in mind too. So I think I'm going to be making 2 or 3 perhaps winter journals, and I'm going to list them out. I'll be posting a series of updates on how I'm making this. This is just an introduction into how I choose my papers, and how I'm going to add some filler papers. Of course, those are going to be tea or coffee stained, mostly tea stained, because that's what I like. Tea stained papers, and some here and there papers that I can add. But I'm basically going to work with cardstock, because I am not using printables for this time, for a change. I generally use printables too along with these and make them work. But this time around, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick to a color scheme that is blue and a little bit of yellow, maybe. No pinks, as you can see, a little bit of dark green. So this is very non-traditional winter journal concept, and I like this one. This has a direction if you follow closely, like this has to be like so, and I want my template to be like this. Like if I put it in the middle, then I will be losing out these two sides. The images will not be on my pages. So I have to choose which side I want. Either do I get this on my page, or do I need to get this on my page? It's up to me. Or I can shift my template at the top and see how things are. Like, do I need to get this one, or do I need to have this one? So it's entirely up to the maker how she plans to make it. So that's why I make a template. So that makes sometimes choosing the images that you want on your journal easier. Like this one is more or less same throughout. How lovely these are, cinnamon sticks, tied, very rustic, very 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 pretty. And pine cones, and they do have a direction, and if you follow this, this is kind of like so I need to put it like this. So then I will know how much I'm going to need and how much I won't. So that's how the things work basically. This is just an introduction, and I will be back with a next session, I think in a day or two, whereby I'll show you how I have cut down the pages, added filler papers, and how I plan on adding embellishments to this. So I hope to post updates on Facebook or hopefully on Instagram on when I'll be going live. And even if you don't catch the live, no worries. I'm going to post that so you'll get to see what I've been up to. So this is another paper from Stamperia, as you can see. I might add this one just to tone down everything, you know. So that might be one of the filler papers inside. So these are the pages that I have chosen for my Christmas journals. I know these are very boho kind of look because you see feathers and you know, pine cones and cinnamon sticks. This is not the traditional winter journal that you expect, and that was not my point at all. I wanted to make something different, something which nobody is doing right now. And I'm also working on my personal Christmas journal, which I will be showing an update on how I'm planning. Yeah, these feathers are wonderful. And I like this paper because uh, it is a thick cardstock. So if I want, I can tea stain, coffee stain, whatever at the back. And what I do is I generally uh, do tea stain these papers. I don't know, my camera is not focusing once again. I generally do tea stain these papers, but sometimes, you know, you can get away by um, you, what do you call it, by using your distress stains. Yeah, and I like the theme of the paper. Basically, this is very boho winter kind of theme, and I like the image so much. I know this paper does not come with any cutter parts or anything of that sort, but still I stuck to it because I kind of find this image very interesting, these images. So I thought that I would stick to this. And as you can see, the images are wonderful and the paper quality is also very good, so I'm planned on using this. I will be making one for myself also from all the scraps that I'm left with, so there will be an update on that also. So I hope you know how you can make templates. And even when I'm making journaling cards, I'll tell you how I do that. Like suppose I'm left with, I did have some scraps. Okay, so this is a scrap I have. So what I do is, if I'm left with a scrap, I know I want this you know, image. Suppose I want this image over here. This is a journaling card, and I can just measure it out. Usually I don't do that, but you can do that. You can make templates up for everything, your tags, your journaling cards, your pockets, and that makes life so much easier, you know. I do have a pouch full of templates where I dig in with, into which I dig sometimes when I need some template kind of thing. So this is also like, I'm left with this scrap, you know, after I have made the template. So I'm going to make a tag or a journaling card sort of thing from here. Um, and as you can see, this is single sided, so I need to do something at the back also because I don't like white spaces. That bothers me a lot. So maybe I'm going to do some sort of collage at the back, or maybe a double pocket over here. So I'm just toying with the ideas. I'll be showing what I have been up to in a day or two, and hopefully my journals will be partially ready to be stitched, or you know, adding embellishments and lace and trims and stuff like that. Because once you stitch the journals up, it's very difficult to add those things later on. So initially, though, I used to stitch up my journals before because I thought that made my life easier, but it's not like that anymore. I generally now try to put in all sorts of decorations before, and then stitch at the last minute, because I found that's going to be that's easier, more easy for me at least. So I will be back with an update on the winter journals, I think in a day or two. So today's Saturday, Sunday, slash maybe I'll be back with an update on Wednesday or Thursday on how I have added papers to this and how I'm making embellishments and putting together these journals. So bye now. I'm going to take your leave, and I'll be posting updates on how I proceed. So bye, bye everyone.